Frustrated, King Charles had hoped for a reunion with his son, but only after Prince Harry's most explosive interview to date. Really, Charles? You wait until Harry's on national television pouring his heart out to claim you wanted reconciliation? That's not leadership. That's damage control. And let me tell you, my darlings, the British public sees right through it this time. Because despite Harry's legal setback in the UK courts over his police protection, the tide is turning, and fast. Yes, after years of smears, spin and shameful headlines, new polling suggests that more and more Britons now back Prince Harry's fight for security when he returns home. The man was born into the very institution that created the threat level he faces today. And yet he's the one expected to pay for protection out of pocket, while still being treated like a public punching bag. Well, something's shifting. Let's unpack the facts, the fallout, and the shameful palace tactics behind this story. Let's make it count. Shifting tides, public opinion rallies behind Prince Harry. Amidst the turmoil of public statements and royal pronouncements, a curious shift began to occur in the court of public opinion. Conversations buzzed in cafes, homes, and online forums. People were dissecting every word, every gesture, and every nuance of the royal family's actions. Recent YouGov poll statistics revealed a surprising trend. Public support for Prince Harry was on the rise. The numbers were clear, and they told a story of a public increasingly sympathetic to Harry's plight. Despite the controversy surrounding his interview and the ongoing legal battles, a growing number of people found themselves siding with the prince. His candidness in interviews, especially those with Meghan Markle, struck a chord with many. A growing number of people found themselves siding with the prince. His willingness to share his struggles and his journey resonated deeply with a public tired of the stiff upper lip traditionally associated with the royals. This shift in sentiment was particularly noticeable in the wake of Charles's call for reconciliation. The public saw this as a potential turning point, a moment where old wounds could begin to heal. Many saw Harry's willingness to speak his truth as a sign of strength and authenticity. His speeches, often filled with raw emotion, showcased a side of royalty that was rarely seen. In a world where vulnerability is often mistaken for weakness, his openness resonated with those who had experienced their own struggles. People began to see Harry not just as a prince, but as a human being with real emotions and challenges. His openness resonated with those who had experienced their own struggles. Stories of personal battles and triumphs were shared, creating a sense of community and understanding. People admired his courage in breaking free from the constraints of royal tradition to prioritize his own well-being and that of his family. His decision to step back from royal duties was seen as a bold move, one that many respected. The public's perception of Harry was evolving. He was no longer simply the spare to the heir, but a man forging his own path with honesty and integrity. His journey from a young prince to a man of conviction was being watched and admired. He was no longer simply the spare to the heir, but a man forging his own path with honesty and integrity. His involvement in various initiatives and his speeches at events further solidified his image as a man of the people. This shift in public opinion was not lost on royal observers. Commentators and journalists began to take note, analysing the changing dynamics within the royal family. Some speculated that the Queen's recent decision to strip Prince Andrew of his military titles and patronages, following allegations of sexual assault, played a role in Harry's rising popularity. The stark contrast between the two princes was evident. The stark contrast between the two princes, one speaking out about his struggles while the other remained embroiled in scandal, painted a clear picture for the public. Harry's transparency was a breath of fresh air in a world often shrouded in secrecy. Harry, despite his flaws and missteps, was seen as a sympathetic figure, a man striving to do right by his family and himself. His journey was one of growth and self-discovery, and the public was rooting for him. The growing wave of support for Harry put increasing pressure on the royal family, particularly on King Charles. The public's demand for change was becoming louder and harder to ignore. It highlighted the growing disconnect between the institution and the public it served. The traditional ways of the royal family were being questioned, and the need for modernization was becoming apparent. As Harry's popularity soared, the royal family's carefully constructed facade of tradition and decorum began to crumble. The public was no longer willing to accept the status quo. The public was no longer content with carefully curated glimpses into the lives of royals. They wanted to see the real people behind the titles, the struggles, and the triumphs. They craved authenticity, vulnerability, and a willingness to address the challenges of the modern world. Harry's journey was a testament to the power of honesty and the importance of staying true to oneself. Security concerns and moral obligations, the fight for protection. The royal family faces unprecedented challenges in ensuring their safety. Now, let's talk about that bombshell interview. Prince Harry, with visible frustration and sadness, said this whole thing could be resolved through him, meaning King Charles. Harry made it clear that his own father could have fixed this, could have offered him dignity and protection. Instead, silence, stonewalls. And now, when the press backlash becomes inconvenient, Charles suddenly hopes for reconciliation? Please. This is what some call strategic parenting. You ignore the fire your child is trapped in, and when they finally cry for help publicly, then you offer a hand. Once the cameras are rolling, it's manipulative, it's disgraceful, and it shows the same lack of accountability the firm has always shown, especially when it comes to Harry and Meghan. My darlings, here's what I want you to take away. Prince Harry lost a legal battle, but he's winning the hearts of many, because people are finally starting to understand that this isn't about privilege, it's about principle. A man stripped of state protection because he dared to love freely and speak openly is now being supported, even quietly, by the same public that was once weaponized against him. And as for King Charles, if reconciliation was ever your true desire, you wouldn't wait for an interview to say it. You'd have done the work, you'd have shown up. But that, my friends, is the difference between power and parenting. One is inherited, the other earned. So to Harry we say, keep speaking your truth. The world is starting to listen. This has been Meghan and Harry Tales with your host Adrian. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share this with someone who still believes in fairness, facts and family. Until next time, stay kind, stay loud and always stay woke.